Is this Clarice? Oh, hello, Clarice.
From Hannibal Lecter to Dexter.
Want to know a secret? Daddy kills people.
Our strange fascination with serial killers can be traced in part to the mystery behind the horror. We question how it's possible that someone, anyone, could be capable of killing again and again, seemingly without remorse.
In reality, we know that there's some common denominators that most of them have.
There are hundreds of recorded cases of serial murders dating back centuries, but the term serial killer is actually pretty new. The first known published reference found in a New York Times article from 1981 that described a serial or pattern murderer. That was referring to Wayne Williams, suspected in the deaths of more than 30 children. The FBI defines serial killers as anyone who murders 2 or more people in separate incidents.
It means that they think about what they've done and they go out and do it again.
And serial killers typically have a few other traits in common.
He didn't look like anybody's notion of somebody who would tear apart young girls.
American serial killer Ted Bundy, the subject of a new Netflix series, murdered at least 30 women in the 1970s. Bundy fits the serial killer profile in several ways. For starters, he's a he. 5 out of 6 serial killers are men. And he was a young man in his mid-20s when he committed his first murder.
Serial killers, some of them develop their fantasies as early as 5 years old. And the average age that a serial killer first kills is 28.
Historian Peter Vronsky says most serial killers then retire in their 40s or early 50s as their sex drive and testosterone declines, which makes the case of Canadian serial killer Bruce Mcarthur highly unusual. The 66-year-old grandfather recently pleaded guilty to 8 counts of first-degree murder, all of them committed in his late 50s and 60s. Mcarthur is the oldest confirmed serial killer in Canadian history, and he also stands apart because, by all accounts, his childhood was pretty average. A high percentage of serial killers come from difficult or violent homes, such as Charles Manson, convicted of murdering 9 people. Manson's mother was an alcoholic who reportedly tried to trade her son for a pitcher of beer. Like most serial killers, Manson also had a pretty average IQ.
They are not Hannibal Lecter. They are not Professor Moriarty. They are your next door neighbor who you kind of feel sorry for. And they're consciously aware of those underachievements and then seek to overcompensate for them.
And the majority of serial killers have another important element in common. They almost always fit the technical definition of a psychopath.
A psychopath, or someone who has psychopathic tendencies, basically is someone who is very grandiose, someone who lacks sympathy and empathy, puts their own needs, whether they're financial or sexual, ahead of the well-being or even the lives of other people.
She just goes a little mad sometimes.
Unlike in the movies, where the word psychopath is synonymous with a murderous madman, most real-life psychopaths are not killers. In fact, around 1 in 150 people is a psychopath, which means you might know someone who fits the profile.
They're very good at faking at conforming or blending in, and they're very good chameleons. And that duplicity is part of what makes them so dangerous.
Psychopaths can come from all walks of life, which is what made it sometimes so surprising.
Neuroscientist Kent Keel was among the first to identify psychopaths by imaging their brains. Most psychopaths are criminals, so back when he was a student at the University of British Columbia, Keel conducted MRI scans on the prison population in Abbotsford, BC.
We've been able now to, in sample sizes 100 times bigger, to show exactly what we think is wrong or different about the psychopathic brain.
Keel and his colleagues scanned the brains of more than 5,000 inmates in Canada and the United States, the largest sample of its kind, and they discovered that psychopaths' brains are visibly different, specifically the orbital frontal cortex behind your eyes and the amygdala deep inside the brain. In a psychopath, these regions are dysfunctional. They don't work properly, and together they're responsible for feelings of remorse, empathy, and fear.
Psychopaths don't worry about punishment. They're not concerned about future punishment. They discount it. They don't even have it in their repertoire.
Only a fraction of the psychopath population will become serial killers, but that brain impairment enables them to kill without remorse or fear of consequences.
The research also raises a fundamental question. Are serial killers born? Is it genetic? Or are they made, a product of their environment? Well, the short answer is it's a bit of both. Serial killers often have brain deformities, either from birth or from an injury, and they also experience trauma during childhood.
So then when you get like multiple different things going on, you can get a really dangerous person.
Keel and others are now working to identify those volatile ingredients early among young offenders to predict and even prevent them from becoming cold-blooded killers.
Hey, thanks for watching Global News. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like the video. And you can also hit the subscribe button on your screen to make sure that you get all the latest international news and the best trending video.